Hello everyone, my name is Jill and I am a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids. We're expecting our 5th soon, and I am also a homeschool mom. And I wanted to take a minute today to talk to you a little bit about our homeschooling and what that looks like. Sometimes when I talk to other moms with young families that have smaller families than we do, I often get asked, how do you manage getting schoolwork done with 4 children in the house? So I have a child who is between 2nd grade and 3rd grade, because with homeschooling you kind of go self-pacing. So we've got some of both going on there. So I have a 2nd grader, I have a 1st grader, and then my youngest that I'm teaching is in preschool, and then I have a toddler that's running around during this time too. And so I thought I would just take a little time to show you through our routine for what our days look like and how we get school accomplished. Now, I will say this, every day looks slightly different because every day is a new day with kids, and because we're here at home, we have the freedom of working around whatever else needs to happen. We do have animals, we have chickens and sheep and goats, and so sometimes those animals need our care and that gets prioritized over schoolwork. So sometimes things look a little different. Sometimes we have to run errands, and so we have to work our school schedule around those sorts of things. So it doesn't look the same every single day. And that's okay. That's the beauty of homeschooling, is the fact that we can make it work for our family, and every other homeschool family out there can do the same thing. And so I'm not putting this out here as this is how you should do it. This is just how I do it. I finally feel like since starting school with my preschooler, I finally feel like I'm beginning to find a rhythm. And so I just thought I would share that, and maybe it helps somebody else to find their rhythm. Like I say, the beauty of it is you can do it however it works best for your family. And so, like I say, we're going to go through and just let you see some glimpses of our school day. I actually had to film the routine part of it over 2 different days because we had a day that our schedule kind of went crazy, and I had to do it in 2 days to be able to show you what a normal would look like. But anyway, so that in itself should explain that not every day is the same, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, we do school year-round. I choose to do that for a couple of reasons, primarily because I feel like if we take off school for the 3 months during the summer, that's a long time for kids not to be doing a lot of their learning things, and they're going to lose a lot, especially when it comes to reading and things like that. I feel like that just needs to keep going on year-round, and so we do school pretty much year-round. Sometimes in the summer it slows down because we are doing other activities, and so I kind of prioritize which subjects we're going to do and which ones we're going to let go for a little while. And then the other reason that we do that is that it allows the freedom to move at the pace that our children need to. So sometimes I will have one of my kids that is going really fast and is moving really far ahead. They're doing really well, so we're actually getting maybe ahead of where they technically should be. But I also will have times when with that same child that they run into a spot where they're learning something new in a particular subject and they need extra time. And so now I have the freedom to slow down, to just review for a few weeks, go back and redo something, whatever we need to do to help them make sure that they understand the concept before we introduce the new. And I know that I have the time to do that. I don't have the pressure that I have to hurry up and get through these lessons, or else we're not going to make it through the school year. So anyway, come along and let's see what a school day looks like at our house. And yeah, I hope that you find it enjoyable.
So one thing that I like to start our day off with is a math speed drill. So both of my older 2 children, my 1st grader and my 2nd grader, both have speed drills that go with their curriculum. And so that is a kind of a great way to just start the day. It's quick and gives them the chance to get that out of the way and kind of get their minds going and all that sort of thing. So we're going to start with that. And then from there, I like to go to mostly independent work for the older ones. So my second grader has a couple of subjects that he can regularly do by himself, and as long as there's not any new material. And so I like to have him go do that so that he is busy, he's getting things done. And then if my first grader, if she is able to do things on her own, then I try to let her work so that this initial morning time I can work with our preschooler, because the preschooler, her work is very, very brief. It only takes 15 or 20 minutes to do her little workbook, and she does best to get it done right away first thing in the morning. And so if I can get all three of them working on something at one time, then that helps a lot. And I have discussed before that I like to have the kids working in separate areas. So like right now, my second grader is in our schoolroom, sitting at a desk, working on his work. Today, our first grader, she was learning something completely new, learning about place value. And so I had to sit there and do her math lesson with her. And so this was a little bit atypical. Normally, her math is something that she pretty well does on her own because the book is pretty open and go. But like I say, today we had to sit together and do this. And so this made today look a little bit different because my preschooler had to wait while I got this child set up on her work. So anyway, so that's what we're doing here, just kind of introducing this concept to her. I love using visual aids anytime with the smaller, younger children. If you can use those learning aids, it really makes it come to life instead of just trying to read it out of a textbook. So anyway, so we worked on that, and then now I am finally able to help my preschooler and get her work done. Again, she does really well, and she loves to do school. And let me emphasize that at her age, school is not a requirement. She is still young enough that if she didn't want to do it, we wouldn't be doing it. And in fact, a year ago, I kind of started trying to do some work with her, and she just wasn't ready. It was more of me creating a struggle with her because she didn't want to sit and do it. And so we just waited. And now she wants to get to do school. She wants to have to be able to say she's doing school like the older two. And so it has worked out. She's ready. And so we get to do this. But again, it's only 15 or 20 minutes and then she's done. And that's enough for her. So we're going to get her schoolwork done so then she can go play and do her own thing. Another reason that I like to get her work done first part of the day is because of our toddler that I have running around. And so he obviously has a lot of effect on our school day, because if I'm having to get up and down to take care of him and get him out of things he shouldn't be in, or try to help him find something to do, that can really affect our day. And so I try to organize it to where this time, especially that she is busy, that I have something for him to do. Some days he does really well just playing in a bedroom with a toy. Other days he needs something like Play-Doh or kinetic sand or a different toy out of the closet that he doesn't have access to normally. And that helps him be occupied while she finishes her work, so that then they can go play together afterwards. Sometimes the best solution there is to let those two then go outside and play, because they both love to be outside, and then it gets the house quiet and I can work with everyone else. So from this point, ideally, I would just tag team back and forth between my older two to help them with whatever work that they need me to sit there with. This particular day, my daughter was also learning about dividing words into syllables, and we were clapping to count the syllables in a word. And so we sat there and did this activity together. Again, the hands-on stuff for her especially really, really makes a difference. My older my second grader, when he was learning this, he couldn't care less about clapping for syllables. He figured out other ways of doing it. But for her, this has been really helpful. So again, just focusing on her. And then right now, my second grader is still doing things that he can do on his own. And then sometimes I have to say, okay, you do this while I work with the other one. And then when I'm done, we'll swap out and work with you on what you need. Sometimes that means that the kids get, extra breaks during the day, and they just get to go outside during the morning time because I need to work with the other one and there's nothing that this child can do on their own. But I really try to keep it to where there is something they can do on their own so that we keep the day moving, because we like to have school done by lunchtime. A lot of times my second grader isn't completely done by lunch. He usually has one or two things afterwards, but for the most part, we let the mornings be when we do school, and then the afternoons are free time for whatever playing outside activities, whatever things I need to get done. I stand here and say that mornings are when we do school, and I don't try to do housework then. And so we try to be done so that in the afternoons I can do the other things. So like I say, just however that works each day to go back and forth between the two older ones. Now I get to sit down and do reading with my kids. I really enjoy getting to listen to them read. My mom used to talk about how rewarding it was to teach your child to read, and she talked about how that was her favorite part. And I have to agree that it is very special when you can sit down with them and they can read a book and they can pronounce the words, they can sound them out, and you just can listen to them read and they get to enjoy that book with you. So that's really special. And we like to do our reading on the couch instead of at the table. They do enough schoolwork at the table. Let's do this somewhere where we're more comfortable, a little bit more fun. So we're going to sit here together and do this. And I typically have reading time with each of the two older children. Sometimes my first grader doesn't actually read out of a book. She's just reading out of her phonics activity book. And so sometimes it looks a little different. But generally on any given day, I am sitting here with each child gets a turn with this part of it. So anyway, so we're just going to do that. And like I say, finish up what schoolwork now that my second grader needed help with. He had some math stuff that we needed to go over together that he was learning new and realized that he needed some extra instruction on. And so this is just kind of what it looks like. And again, depending on the day, depending on the amount of new material that they're having introduced, depending on the temperament of the kids on any given day, it can look a lot different. But this is just kind of a big picture. Maybe this helps give you an idea of just kind of what a normal day looks like for us. Not that every day is normal by any means, but now I am going to do some grading. I find that especially the second grader, his math and things like that, I need to look at every day, especially when they have things that they're doing on their own. If I fall behind on grading, it's not necessarily that the number grades matter at this point. It's more the fact that when I grade is when I realize, oh, wait a minute, you need extra help in this area because I see for the last, a couple of days you have made the same mistakes. And so that means we need to go back and work in that area or things like that. So staying on top of grading is something that is important. Not, like I say, at this point, I'm not necessarily tracking grades for GPAs. I mean, good grief, he's in the second grade. It's just so that I know, do they understand what they are being taught at this point? And I need to know that so we can address that properly. But one new thing that I have started here recently is using a planner to keep up with our week-to-week schedule of what lessons the kids are doing in school. I think this year with having 3 kids that I'm trying to teach, or maybe it's the fact that I have the toddler, maybe it's pregnancy brain. I'm not real sure there, but I feel like I have struggled more with keeping on top of where each child is at in each of the subjects and what needs to be done each day without losing a bunch of time going back and looking, because I am too frugal to let my kids write in most of their textbooks. There is one or two that they get to write in, and the rest of them, we either copy pages or they have a separate notebook that they are writing in, depending on what the subject is and what the age of the child is. So anyway, I have started using a planner and actually mapping out, like on a Friday, I will sit down and I will look at each subject for each child for the following week, and I will write down, on Monday we're going to do this, on Tuesday we're going to do this. And, if it's a day that, Wednesday we have a midwife appointment, well, I need to make a note of that so that I know that the school day is going to look different. And that just kind of has really helped me stay more on top of it. And it also helps me get to the end of the day and know that, yes, everything did get done. I didn't forget anything. Everybody is getting the teaching that they need. They're getting the things covered. And that has been a big game changer. And it took until this year for me to even need that. I am really glad that I have started doing this. And I think that especially in this next season, as we are navigating a new baby, and then once we get started back in school again, because we will take a break for a little while, that this will be a very helpful thing. So that it's like I said, it's been a game changer, and I'm glad that I've figured this out.
Okay. Well, I wanted to leave you with a couple of thoughts for today. Thank you for watching this. I hope that you found it helpful. I wanted to leave you all with a couple of thoughts on homeschooling in general. First of all is, as I said earlier, it can look different for every family depending on the number of kids, depending on the schedules, depending on the ages, and it's going to vary, and that's okay. I also will say that because I was homeschooled myself, it has given me a little bit of maybe confidence in the area of being willing to be able to kind of move around things as far as schedules, and being willing to let the kids kind of pace it based off of their needs, and not feeling as pressured to get through all the work in a set amount of time. And so when what you see in our home is going to look a little different than someone who maybe hasn't ever been exposed to homeschooling and is trying to learn that for the first time. So if you're new to this, if you're new to homeschooling and you're just trying to figure it out, I just want to say that you can do this. You are smart enough to teach your kids, and give yourself the time and the space to figure it out. Your kids they're gonna learn, look, once you find, what curriculums you want to use, just move with it, and you will learn as you go. The kids are going to learn as long as you're teaching something, they're going to be picking it up. And so with that said, give yourself time and don't put yourself under a lot of pressure that you have to have it all figured out today. And so if you're new to homeschooling, like I say, don't feel like you have to have it perfect, because I certainly am not perfect, and I've had an awful lot of exposure to it. So don't feel like you have to do it perfectly the first time. And the other thing that I want to say is that there are seasons to homeschooling, just like there are seasons to parenting and to motherhood. So just like I talked about earlier, the fact that we do school year round, and it gives us the freedom of the timing so that we can take breaks when we need to, or we can move at a different pace. We also are coming up in our family on a time when we're not going to be doing school, because we're going to have a newborn, and that always is a transition time. It's a time that, I don't know exactly how long we're going to take off school for that. But again, because we do school year round, because we are, very self-paced, it will be okay. And we have been working really hard these last several weeks to make sure that everything has been getting done, and that everybody is learning what they need to be learning, so that when we take this break, I can back off and I can say, okay, it's okay that we're not doing school for a little while. There's a reason for this. It's a season. We'll get back into it. And I know that that this routine that I have now probably will not be the same one that I'll get to come back to after our baby is born, because I'm going to have another child to take care of. I'm going to have another one to manage around with nursing schedules and napping and all those sorts of things that come with babies. Thank y'all again so much for joining me today, and I hope that you found this interesting, maybe helpful. And let me know in the comments if you homeschool. If so, how many kids do you have that you are teaching, and maybe any tips and tricks. I know I always like seeing how other people do it, learning from others. So maybe someone else can learn from what we put in the comments too. So y'all share any thoughts you have there, and thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.